Oh, that's what I was trying to tell you the other day. Is that my penis was in the Guinness Book of World Records, but the librarian told me take it out. I thought I mentioned that to you the other day.
I think you mean the Guinness World Record, just like the drinking game. That's just a drinking. That's for St. Patrick's Day.
I'm not trying to put it in a can.
Yeah, you need to can it. Synergy. Put in your booby rocks. Live your best life. Keep doing you. So much synergy. Let's stick together with some high kicks. Wow. All right, everybody, welcome to this episode of So Much Synergy. We're at episode 179.
Hooty hoo!
Good times. Welcome back. I'm your host, Jenny McKinney, and I am here with Jeff Jones.
Sorry, hooty hoo reminded me of a bird call.
Yeah.
Jen, thanks for having me this week.
Oh man, good times. I know we've had the last 2 weeks have been interviews, which has been great. You know, we had
it has
Snap,
been great. Yep,
and,
I did have to miss that one, but I'm glad I made. Wish I'd have made the Beth Snap one. I'm glad I made the Brooke Inman one.
Yeah.
And we had her on the round table.
I know, so great.
Good times.
Real quick about Beth Snap, she did message me. She said she appreciated being on the show. She wants us to keep doing what we're doing, like sharing love and laughter with the world. So that was super positive. I love that. And again, you know, we're just wishing her all the best. She has some big plans for this year, so I'm putting it out there. Yeah, I'm excited for her, whatever she's got going on. So put some good little juju out there for her.
Speaking of putting love and laughter out there, though, remember the comment challenge?
Yeah.
I was pushing that so much that has carried over pretty much into my everyday life. Like I catch myself just giving people compliments. Grocery store, at work.
Well, here, I'll share a quick example. Because I manifest anyway, right? So I put things out there, like, and we did talk about the challenge. So I had somebody message the other day who was actually I feel like either her bonus, some incentive, or her review is directly reflected in her Google mentions. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so you know, even if somebody, like, how would you feel about this if somebody did ask, can you go put a Google review out there for me? Like, if you know that this person is amazing and doing a great job, and maybe you should have put the Google review out there anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I'd put the review out there, especially if they're doing a good job.
Well, not like that. Like, if somebody's asking for something, like, I mean, I feel like you're pretty vulnerable if you're asking for help. You know what I mean?
Right. And if it is something as simple as like just leaving a review or
if the person's a turd,
you know what I mean?
Hard pass. I'll be like,
what do you do in that situation though? If you are at a restaurant where it's not good food, not good service, and then you're leaving and you see at the counter it says like, oh, go on and Google review us.
Yeah.
You know, and then the lady, like, you're paying the bill, you tip, you're just trying to get out of there. And she's like, oh, if you can, I appreciate it if you can go on and just leave us a Google review or a Yelp review. Like, what do you do then?
Well, I would probably make it about the restaurant. Like, if I did, I'd find a positive about the restaurant.
The location.
I mean?
Yeah. Oh, it was convenient to pull in and out
of. The parking lot was clean or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't want to be like toxic positivity where you're just like putting positivity out there that's not actual positivity. You know what I mean?
Right. That's not helping anyone.
No, that's no. That's just a lie. I'm not about that life.
Right.
Life.
Right.
Did you have another example?
Oh, no. Well, I was going to bring up that I had started a new job, Jen.
Okay.
And this is great. I was at a job for 9-10 years. I left there. I took a job. Wasn't exactly psyched about it, but it was kind of a move of a horizontal shift over. I wasn't, you know what I mean? But
with
what
potential of other things.
Yeah, if anything, to get me out of the rut that I was in prior to that.
Mm-hmm.
So I gave this place a try for about 1.5 years, 2 years almost, and then it wasn't for me.
It was time.
it was time to move on, and the job itself was not gratifying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was eating away at me because every day it just was.
We want to contribute. You know what I mean? If
that's
you
my
have skills
thing.
and like you want to contribute
Exactly
your offerings and
right. But in my skill trade, fabrication, what I do, I moved from industrial to commercial. Okay. And then so I realized it's just not as gratifying. I like the hustle and the bustle, and I like the not knowing that comes with industrial work.
Yeah.
And the higher standard. There's a high standard because it's industrial. You're moving big things, you're building huge things, and like that's gratifying as it gets to me.
Yeah.
And if you're doing that for a company that not only appreciates it, but like expects you to like put a lot of input into what you're making. Does that make sense? Because they expect you
like
to be
your
the
showmanship, like take pride in your workmanship.
Right. So where I moved to now was the company I had left before that I was at for 9-10 years. I went to their competitor.
Okay.
And it's a lot of people I know. They had reached out, I'd reached out to them, but like I'd basically left a message through their website, and within 2 minutes they'd called me. And they were psyched. They wanted me to come in that day and talk to them. They were, I don't know. They had no way to get a hold of me was the gist of it, because when I left the other company, I'd got a new phone number. Only one or two people have had it, so nobody had a way to really get a hold of me, which was fine. I didn't expect anybody to like get a hold of me from a competitor company anyways, but they were trying, which was so boom. As soon as they got a contact info from me, 2 minutes, they called me, Jen, set up an interview. Even on the phone, Jen, I knew like this was what I should have been doing. This is what I should have been doing. Yeah. And so I talked to my company I was at. They were basically like, I gave them a 2-week notice, and they were like, do you want to do your 2 weeks? Because we don't have a lot of work. It's up to you. I'm like, nope, I'm good if you're good. And they're like, no, we're good. Yeah. But here's the other thing is I talked to our HR lady at the company I was with, and the first thing out of her mouth was, well, I hope you don't think we misled you at the interview. And I go, absolutely you did. I go, 100%. I go, at the interview, we had talked about this. You had explained you had tons of work, tons of this, tons of that. We were going to build other stuff for jobs coming up down the road. And so it was a lot of work. There was no question about that. And then from day one, there was not much work. I'd done 1.5 years of not much work. And that's just, it's, that's
not even in our DNA.
No, it's not.
We're hard workers.
It's not. Yeah, that's I explained to her, I go, well, and it's and she's like, well, I don't know what kind of work you're expecting us to be doing. I go, look, I need 12 hours of work that you need done in 8 hours. Yeah. I go, and I'll make that happen. I go, that's how I work. Yeah. I go, I need way too much stuff that I just need to like, bam, 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 knock it out. That's what I do.
Well, because then you feel accomplished for the day.
Right. But where I was at, they were giving us what they were calling a day's worth of work that was done in 2 hours. So what do you do with the other 6 hours? Plus, that was the other thing. There's no overtime. There was nothing that was promised to me at the interview. But boom, you go back to industrial. I've already gotten 10 hours of overtime this week already. And I've already built, Jen, the first thing I even built, Jen, I'm not going to lie, I was in tears, kind of. I had to run out to a customer's company. Yeah. They had a fan up in their ceiling. They needed a cage below in case anything come off the roof or come loose from the fan. It throws a belt. Yeah. They didn't want like even a little rubber belt on a fan motor to come flinging down into the factory. Okay. You know what I mean? It was a simple project. Boom, go there, measure it up. Jen, I was told that I need to build the Taj Mahal for this customer. Okay. And when I was done with it, this is how excited and gratifying these people where I'm at now were, that they came out and looked at it and were like, we asked you to build the Taj Mahal. This is the whole town that the Taj Mahal is in.
Oh, I just got chills.
I know. I go, do you know what town the Taj Mahal is in? And they're like, no, this is it. So they were excited. You know what I mean? And then that was my boss, the people I built it for. So then I go out and install this thing. And the customer come out and was like, oh my gosh, if our plant manager sees that, they're going to want these in every factory because it's sweet.
Oh man.
And this whole system I made, it's ridiculous. But just the fact that I went on for too long about this project, but just the fact that I'm building something that like is useful and appreciative. Right. You know what I mean?
Well, I want to share too a few things to like unwrap here, just because like if the listeners have, jobs like dead end that they feel that they're just at a dead end.
Right.
now is the energy that is very supportive to make the change. Like, stuff can happen. Like, look how quick that happened. You literally just went on a website. They called you within 2 minutes. You put in a notice, and then you were there within a few days.
2 days, 48 hours later, Jen.
Look, I
already
just
had
got
I had
chills.
a different work uniform on, and I felt like, yes. And
this is what it, like, you're in the big leagues now, right? Like, you're back in the game.
I'm back, and it's like, it's so much more gratifying. And honestly, the room for growth where I'm at now is because they are a newer company, is just exponential. The room, like, this is what I can't say I should have done this when I left the other place, because they weren't as big as they are getting now to where they could have utilized me. It was just
I think it's perfect timing, and not a coincidence.
Jen. It's not, and it's crazy. And the amount of people I know that work there already, and I don't have a problem with any of them. Now I'm going to go back to where I was talking about. I was been giving people compliments and things like that, just like out of the blue, like, you know, in person Google reviews, pretty much. Well, all week, you know, the lady that hired me, that called me and stuff, with, you know, who I knew from the other company, was like, "Oh, how do you know, is it working out? How do you like it?" I'm like, this is awesome, because every day, Jen, I was just psyched. I was just jazzed to be. I knew what I was going to go in there and do that day, and bam, and it works out, and it's great. And so all week, you know, she was not all week, but a handful of times she'd ask me like, "Well, is it, you know, how's your day going?" "Oh, this is badass." That's what I tell you. Look, this is badass. This is too much. Then yesterday I was leaving, and I see the owner, who I see him all day.
Okay.
Anyways, he comes in and out. He's always around. He's a younger guy an electrician, you know, who I knew from the other company.
Okay.
He's one of the guys that started this company, and he came out yesterday and was like, "Hey man, how you think, you know, you like it, you know, this and that," which he asked me earlier in the week, and I was like, "Yeah, for sure." But I was like, "Yeah, man, look," I go, "this has been probably the most gratifying week I've had in almost 2 years." I go, "I can't even begin to tell you how appreciative I am that, like, not only did you guys call me back that fast, I go, that the ball was rolling and I was here like that quick, that it was that exciting, man."
Right.
I go, I don't want to sound like, you know, like, "Ooh, that new guy." I go, "But we both know, I know a lot of people at this company already." He's like, "Yeah." And I go, "Not one person has said one negative thing about this company." I go, "Nobody's even complained about the parking lot," which our parking lot is kind of tore up after winter. And I was even warned at the interview, like, "Hey, just a heads up, when you show up in the morning, it's kind of a shit show. You just got to kind of do what you can.
Go with it.
Park somewhere, get out of the car, you know, work. You can always move your car later type thing." And, but I even told him, I said, "Look, not one person has said anything negative about this company." And he's like, "Really?" He's like, "Well, that's good to hear, man." I go, I'm just saying, like, no one's even bitched about the parking lot. I go, which is like, I'm just saying, like, not even like a minor complaint. I go, "So whatever you guys are doing, just keep doing it." I go, "Because it's fucking working." And he's like, "Well, hell yeah." He's like, "Well, that's just good to know." He's like, I figure, like, you know, if somebody was unhappy, they'd say something. He's like, "But sometimes," he's like, "you know how it is, man. Sometimes people just don't say shit." I go, "Right." I go, "And people aren't even like," I go, "just being the new guy, you'd think you'd hear like, 'Oh, wait till you got to go to this job,' or 'Oh, wait till you got to do this or deal with this person.'" I go, "I've heard nothing. I go, "It's great."
That's amazing. Not only that, just for your whole person, for the whole environment. You know what I mean? It's going to be, it's just going to be like a growth environment, right? Like, the whole mindset has changed, because when you're going into the other place all the time for a year and a half, and it's just getting drugged down. Right. I mean, I'm sure you could feel that affect you.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the same thing with people out there. I did want to go back to the part that you talked about the interview, though.
Yep.
When the last job interviewed you. I think it's interesting when we go into an interview and we feel like we're being the ones that are interviewed, you know, because the company calls you. But what I want to share with the listeners is you have the right to interview the company. You are there just to interview them, just like they're to interview you. You don't have to just go in there and just surrender to whatever they're offering. You should always negotiate, which I want to share that because some people don't realize that. I've heard that from a few HR people.
You don't just have to only negotiate pay. That's not all you're negotiating at an interview.
You should negotiate vacation time, extra time off, a raise in so many days. Can you get a review? Ask what the review process is. You know what I mean? Like, don't just go in there and be like, "Oh, they picked me, so I feel like I'm worthy enough to get picked." No. Like, if this job is not a good fit for you, don't take it.
And even the company I just left and, left from, when I had interviewed there, I had asked them a lot of questions as far as like, I know how I operate.
Oh,
you know
sure.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what to expect when I start there, and like, how much work do you have? Are we going to run out of work? Is it slow? Is it this? And I was assured no. And then I knew within a month that like, dang
this
it,
is not how
this
it's
is
going.
not for me.
Yeah. Which I feel like is almost the opposite of any company I've ever been at. You know how like people come in and they're like, oh yeah, like so-and-so's a rock star. And then they get there and you're like, this guy's a total turd. Or this girl's like, she's terrible. You know?
I had a guy like that at my last company. There's a guy that's just worked in the warehouse, but the front office thought he was the cat's pajamas.
Yeah.
But this guy spent 80% of his day watching YouTube video.
Yeah, and you're like,
I didn't even have to directly work with this guy, but through the bay door in front of our shop where we were working, you had to stare at him. You had no option.
Right.
And it's just like, and then when you hear people praise him, you're like, are we talking about the same guy?
Yeah.
We have to. There's only 6 people here. You know what I
just
mean?
think it's interesting because normally when we feel like, oh, somebody was deceived in the interview, it's usually the person basically like upselling themselves to get the job, right? And then they get in there and they realize like, oh, well, this culture, I can just be lazy or I can just be blank. But I think it's interesting that it's opposite. It's the company that oversold and then get you in there because they know like, look, this guy's got amazing skills and all this, and like we need him and we want him. And then really it's not satisfying. So it's just interesting on both levels how it's just a different take on the interview process.
Oh yeah. And I know how I am, that I knew even when I got to that company I was at and I was there a month, I knew like, well, this sucks. So, and I knew I had to give it a year.
Yeah.
Which is a long time. But like, I'm not I've had 5 jobs since high school. You know what I mean? I've had a lot of second jobs also, like jobs that I've had while I had major, a main job. But I've only had 5 main jobs since high school.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a job hopper. So like when I left the one company after 10 years, it's like I wanted to move to a company I thought was going to work out. And at the interview process, it sounded great on paper and in person. But then when to put it into action, nope. And so I feel like at least where I'm at now, like I know what to expect. I know where they were at and where they're going and where they want to get to. You know what I mean? Which is great.
Well, it's awesome too that they asked, and well, it's interesting that she felt like she's like, well, we didn't mislead you, did we? Like that's an interesting question at the end. Like,
not only did she say that because she was at the interview, but then when after I handed my letter of resignation, we had to go over and talk to my boss at the time, and what's weird is I'd worked for this guy a year and a half. I didn't even address the letter of resignation to him because I didn't even know his last name. Yeah. And this was my boss who we get work from, like seen daily. I didn't even know the guy's last name to know like who to put on there. Yeah. Which was weird. Crazy. So we go in him, and when we get in there and he hands it, the first question he looks at me and says is like, well, I hope you don't think we misled you. And I couldn't lie to him just to get out of there and get on with my day because the HR lady who I just went over all this with. And I go, actually, you kind of did, And he's like, really? And I just went into the same spiel as far as like, look, I asked all these questions at the interview. These were your answers. And I knew within the first month, none of this was working. None of this was happening. Right. But I gave it a year and a half. Yeah. Right. And I'd like to say that like, oh, I knew after a month it didn't work out. It took me this long to find a place worthy of going to. No, that's not the case. No. I did reach out to a handful of contacts and places I knew of. You know what I mean? Sure. And it's weird. It would have been a step over again or even a step down. I'm not, to residential. And I'm not knocking like residential workers because it's just depending on what your skill set is what, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I knew I had to get back into industrial because I like the not knowing. I like everything that comes with it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Everything's just, to me, it's what I need. Right. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying too, to like the listeners, like I'm excited for you. I'm excited that the listeners get to hear your experience, to know like, hey, this is scary. Like, should I do this? Yeah. Like, just do it. Cause you just don't even know. And I knew I'd talk other job, like the same thing. people you don't like working for, find another job. You know what I mean? And I didn't want to come at him again like, oh, look, I'm still saying it. But I had to move, and I am still saying it.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not happy doing what you're doing, you got to do something different.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, good times, and welcome to the new place.
Yeah, I didn't expect to talk about it for that long.
That's
I wasn't even sure if I was going to bring it up on
share your enthusiasm with your work people so they can become listeners.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. A couple of them I gave meditation for men CDs to back at the company we
the
worked
other
at
shop.
before.
Yeah, that's funny.
Because when they seen me here, they're like, "Oh man, like I've looked for it. Are you still doing that? You still doing the podcast?" I go, "Yeah, we're still doing the podcast." And I told them about the Ron table and there's so much Jeff and Ron here and all that.
Well, if you ever get in talks with somebody too, ask them if they want to just be on the show to talk about like positive work environment.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like how to stay positive and what do you do like in that environment? Like, you know, how is it different from the other work environment that you all came from?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it is definitely different.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is because all these guys came from where we worked at before. And what they basically did was took the best parts of that company.
Yes.
And added on to that.
Yeah.
Like not only did they just take the best parts and then like work their own ideas into it, which they did, but their own ideas.
Yep.
Yeah, they did. They took the best parts of that company and just really added and expanded onto that. And they're just going to keep expanding. And I guarantee you that they're not just blowing smoke up my ass.
Yeah.
Because there's people at the company that are like, it's happening.
Right.
Like, which is good. The company itself is just growing. And in this industry, you can't get too big. You know what I'm saying? You can, but like, it takes,
but how awesome for you to be part of that growth. And not only that, for them to not even know what they were missing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you were a missing piece they didn't even know they needed.
Right.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I feel like that's how it is with little Cora buddy. We got little Cora buddy. I showed you on the show last time when I picked her up and you were like, you got a scarf? You got a new scarf?
It looked like a boa. I was telling Em about that the other day, my youngest. He's like, oh, did Toots get a new dog? I go, yeah, you know how I seen it? I go, she had it on and it looked like a feather boa. And I go, and I thought it was. I go, but I go, oh, hey, you got something on your, like attacking you. And making a joke that it was an animal. And it was an animal.
She's so goofy. Like, it's so terrible. I know you don't get on Facebook much, but if the listeners are friends with me, we rescued Cora from a rescue here. It's so interesting because we were like talking about maybe getting another dog with Linus, you know, because our neighbors moved and somebody posted, like shared a post from this rescue. I'd never heard of them. They're local. And she's from North Carolina. She's from a hoarder house, but that lady was hoarding animals. So, oh man, just the pictures of when they got Cora, she was matted. She had like feces all over her. It was bad. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then just to see this nugget, like just loving and living her best life is like, we just can't stop laughing at her. You know what I mean? She hops like Linus, like a rabbit. She just is like a deer almost. You know how like a deer like pops up and puts her legs together?
Oh, yeah.
That's how she runs. Yeah, she's been funny. So
nice.
Yeah, I took her for a walk yesterday, put her in a Whole Foods bag, called it a doggy bag.
I saw that. Picture? You did send me a picture of that. The doggy bag to go.
Yeah, I didn't know Whole Foods had a doggy bag. Yeah.
Did you try the harness?
I wasn't sure, like, if she's going to get bigger or what size harness to get just yet. So we're going to get a harness and we're going to, like, just leave it on her all the time.
How old is she? How old?
She's 1 to 2. Yeah, so she's still, you know, puppy-ish, but she's only 12 pounds.
She has puppy brains for sure.
Yeah,
like
for
the energy
sure.
And the energy that comes with that.
Yeah.
We're dealing with that right now.
Yeah. So she had surgery, though, so I'm not sure, like, how far the harness comes back. So I just want to make sure she's healed before I put that on her.
You can also buy a harness that goes around just, you know, the 2 straps underneath them, but then the whole back almost looks like a horse blanket.
Oh,
it's kind of, the latch is either in the middle, the front, or the back. You can kind of latch it anywhere along there.
Yeah. Josh said I should just get that kind that, like, looks just like that, but has a strap in the front and back, and then just carry her like a purse. Like,
you could like hook a duffel bag onto that front and back strap. Throw a duffel bag strap on there. carry her like a McGregor.
Can you imagine? Be like, what's happening over there? And she would love it. I mean,
literally, that lady has a doggy bag.
She's literally, you should have seen our neighbor drove by when I had Cora in the bag, and I'm walking Linus, and he like, I mean, if he sees a bird, he'll like yank my shoulder out of the socket, you know?
Yeah, that's Jethro.
And so I had her like in a satchel, like off to the side, and just, I was holding her arm, and people were like,
going on with it.
Yeah, the one girl at work said I should get a stroller. She's like, "Are you gonna be that mom that gets the dog stroller?" I was like, "Oh, no, I'd rather just carry her. I put her in a baby holder like we used to do with Molly."
How much she weigh?
12 pounds.
12 pounds. You said that.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So she just little, and she loves to sit up. Like when she stands up on her back leg, she sits up like a what is it? Like
dog?
Like a prairie dog.
Yep. Yeah. If she prairie dogs more than twice, she's playing with it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh man. But earlier your Wi-Fi was cutting out, and I was gonna tell you we had to get a I've been through a whole rigmarole with Xfinity trying to get them out there. So it's like you gotta talk to 42 people, they gotta run all these tests, and then they'll put a tech out. Well, the last time they canceled the tech automatically and didn't even tell me. I'm waiting for someone to get here, and it was canceled. They're like, we determined it was fixed. And I was like,
Oh.
Did you? Oh, okay,
no. That's weird, because I ordered Domino's, and they said, no, I'm not hungry.
Yeah, so the guy comes out yesterday, but here's what happened before he gets here. So I'm meal prepping, forget the broccoli on the stove for 49 minutes.
That probably smelled great.
So he gets in the house, right? I'm like, oh, shoot. There was still just a little bit of water in the pan. Run over there. Now I got to explain, why does the house smell?
Yeah.
I was like, sir, meal prepping gone wrong. And I was like, I swear on everything. Like, I'll show you the broccoli. Oh.
Nice.
Can you imagine being a tech? Just like, I'm sure they have stories, you know?
Oh, something I was going to bring up earlier. You said something about deers. I forget what you said something about.
Oh, Cora jumping like a deer.
Jumping like a deer. That's right. It got me thinking. This week I had read an article, okay? There is a lab that is growing antlers on mice, okay? And they had a picture of a mouse with antlers.
What?
Now,
Why?
I know what you're thinking. Why would mice want antlers? They did not expect that to happen. What they were doing was taking... The thing is because I'm not going to save you the trouble of reading this article that took me about a half hour to read.
Oh my God.
It was very long. It just kept going. And I got, but the gist is like, why do mice need antlers? They don't. But deer have the ability to lose their antlers.
Yeah. And
the antlers grow back, right?
Yeah.
So what they were doing was taking parts of the deer antler and they had injected it into the mouse to see if the mouse could regenerate its bones.
Okay.
Like a broken bone.
Nothing to do specific to the antlers.
No. And oddly enough, the mice started growing antlers. So the point of it is that if the whole test and research itself is that they were trying to get to where like a human being, if you broke like your femur bone, if they could give you an injection of something along the lines of a deer antler, because the deer antler is made of the same material that like bone is or fingernail.
Sure.
It's all, what is it? I forget the name of it, but it's all made up of kind of the same material. And that's what they were getting at, is that trying to figure out how to get humans to like basically regrow your bone like you would a fingernail or an antler, which it does, but they were trying to speed it up. I know we can regrow, like bones can fuse together and whatnot, but it's the speed that deer antler grows.
Okay.
They grow 1 inch. It was an inch a week, I believe, that antlers grow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's severe growing pains. Hey, when you go to the restroom, do you prefer like the manual paper towel or do you like the automatic paper towel holder?
I like manual because I like to have enough paper towel to dry my hands.
Yeah, I don't like it.
And some of those manual ones, you wave your hand, it gives you 8 inches. You tear it off. And then you wave your hand again, but you're waiting and it's waiting for get it shit together, and then it comes out again and it's 8 inches. Now,
Right.
2 of them aren't even enough. So now I
Yeah.
got to do this 3 times. So now you're in there for like an extra 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But I feel that the actual, when you reach over and you're just like, and you flick the handle down, and now I have 18 inches of paper towel
Yeah.
or whatever I need suffice to dry whatever I'm drying. You know what I mean? But then I also feel like, how many people have just touched that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I will say I sanitize my hands after every time I use the gas pump.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
That's
there's
one
certain-
thing.
Yeah.
That is in like a shopping cart. If I'm going into a store and pushing
Yeah.
a shopping cart and a gas pump, when I get back, I'm consciously aware not to touch anything.
Yeah.
Like I won't
have,
even smoke a
wipes in my
cigarette,
purse.
nothing.
Yeah.
Right. I keep hand sanitizer in my car. So as soon as I get to my car, and even then I'm like, I've already touched my grocery bags. I've had to bag this shit myself. Like, you know what I mean? And that
Yeah.
I'm not even a germaphobe, but it's just like the gas pump weirds me out.
Yeah.
I don't like touching
that.
anything after I touch a gas pump until I can clean my hands.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I was asking about the paper towel thing because I found a post online that said somebody was making stickers and just putting them randomly on paper towel holders that said, "This machine is voice activated. Please say paper towel now." Like,
So people are standing there just paper towel now.
I thought that was so awesome. Like, to go through the effort of like printing stickers out to get people to
Yes.
yell that your joke just keeps on giving.
I think that's hilarious. I think I'm gonna have to do that.
Gonna have to do
Or
that.
try to come up with something similar because
Yeah.
that is funny. Especially if you put like, please say paper towel now into the light. Like
Yeah.
then they're gonna lean close enough that it's gonna activate it anyways. Similar to that though, I bought my wife this coffee cart for Christmas, like a coffee cart area.
Yeah.
And Mom had bought her like a really nice coffee pot.
Okay.
My buddy come over and it does have a blue light on it, like it glows blue. It's like it's
Yeah.
a really fancy coffee pot. It's
Yeah.
for us it is. I like it. But he comes over and he's like, "Dang, look at your coffee pot." He's like, "Coffee, large." Coffee. And he still does it today. He'll come over and just talk to it.
Because it looks all fancy.
Yeah, like Andrew and I smoke, so we hop out to the garage, smoke, come back in, and he's sitting there talking to it like a therapist.
Yeah.
He was killing me.
Oh
Like, how
my.
long you been talking to the coffee pot? He's like, "It's a great listener."
Yeah.
He's like, "This is a lot better than Alexa." He's like, "My Alexa doesn't listen to me at all. She shuts off." Like, he's like, "The coffee pot's just listening." Like, what the hell is wrong with you? He was implying
now
my
that you
coffee
know how,
pot.
like,
Right.
Remember we talked about how water absorbs the feelings? Like, tell him, don't be putting your sorrows in my coffee.
I know, you're making us some sad ass coffee. Oh, this coffee tastes very depressing.
Yeah, this coffee, today is very inspirational. Must have
I
been
know.
kept that message up.
Oh, this coffee's robust
Yeah,
and angry.
he's bringing the dark roast to it.
Ah, hilarious.
Stupid. All right, Jeffy. Well, good to. Oh, did you have another news story you wanted to share, or save it?
No, that's fine.
was it?
No, that was
Oh,
it.
okay.
No, when you were asking me
Okay.
if I had anything I wanted to discuss on the episode, I just said, I got some news stories.
Oh,
One
yeah,
was
yeah.
the mouse antlers was cracking
Yeah.
me up, but
Can you imagine like just a mouse out in the leaves and you see antlers on it? Look,
no,
man.
no.
What?
And like, you
Like-
imagine just finding little tiny antlers or hanging that rack up on in the garage
Yeah.
wall.
Oh, it's on like a quarter. You got to just use like a little wooden quarter to put them on.
Yep. I like that they
Stupid.
were calling them antlers and not horns. Because it would seem like, like demonic mice, like growing
Right.
horns, but they look like antlers. So they called them antlers, and plus they came from a deer. You know what I mean? But
Right.
like, I'm just
Oh my
glad they're not
God.
calling them like mice horns.
Yeah. Well, did you just to wrap it up here, Jeffy? I know you're not on social media, but did you get to see any news outlets that showed the Northern Lights?
You know, I did, only because my wife showed them to me, and then
Yeah.
we had popped out a night or two ago and we're looking to see, but we had way too much cloud cover.
Okay,
But I had
yeah.
seen images of them. I've seen the Northern
Wow.
Lights twice in my life.
Oh my gosh!
It
Really?
is, yeah. And once was the very first time I went skydiving. Okay, I jumped that day. I
Yeah.
took a class, jumped, did 2 jumps that day. We camped out there, and we're gonna do 2 jumps the next day before we had to come back home. It
Okay.
was Phil and I. And that night were the Northern Lights, and it was so clear, Jen, that it blew my mind. I didn't know what was happening. I mean, people had told me it was the Northern Lights. You know what I mean? It's the only reason I'm like, oh my God, I've heard about them. Never knew how magical or like whimsical it was. But it just was like mind blowing to see it.
Oh man. What were they like when you saw the pictures? Is that kind of what you saw, or were your colors a little bit different?
Not as vibrant. I don't know if it's the filter they had in the video or in the pictures and stuff we had seen, but like it wasn't that. It was very shimmery. Yeah. Like a ribbon. Like, you know what but it was more blue and green. You know, anytime I've ever seen or heard about the Northern Lights since then, I've always thought like,
yeah, same.
I wish they'd have been that green.
On this one.
Yeah.
And these ones.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, usually I always associate them with green, or I see images of them. They're green, and mine was more bluish and a little hint of green, but more blue.
Our buddy Vicky from Canada. You know how I've talked about Vicky from Canada before. She got to see them. She got pictures, like her own pictures, like her pictures of them. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Oh man, so great. And listeners, if you haven't seen those, you should go check them out because that's like pretty awesome. I feel like when I see energy, that's how I see it. Like different things, like in meditations and dreams, things like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
We look forward to you sharing more compliments. Keep that challenge going. And next time we're going to talk about my class with Cindy Kazin.
Oh,
I'm excited about.
Excellent.
It's a medium. It's medium, not small or large.
Oh.
Yeah. So medium ship.
Nice.
Not like you're aliens. You're still here. You didn't get abducted.
Thank heaven. There was a National Alien Abduction Day the other day.
They didn't get you.
No.
That or they were like, you know what? Hard pass. You know what? He's on a good trajectory right now with this new job. We're going to leave him there.
He's serving a purpose finally.
Yeah. And his buddy talks to us through the coffee pot all the time, so we'll leave him there. Yeah.
We're getting everything we need.
All right, Jeffy, I'll see you next week.
All right, rock and roll.
Okay.